Well, hello everybody, welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast as we preview, hopefully, a game of football tonight. But as I have literally just seen, as tweeted out by Heart and Hand, the Rangers team have still not arrived at Dens Park, and it is 17 minutes past 7. So, from what I was hearing, obviously, as most of you know, hello and welcome everybody, by the way, hello, welcome along. I was hearing there's going to be a 20-minute delay to kick-off, so kick-off was going to be 8:05. But with the Rangers team still not at the stadium yet, it could be a lot longer than that. We will go as long as we possibly can. But like I say, like I always say, we're not just going to sit and repeat myself just for the sake of repeating myself. So I am joined tonight by Stuart, Connor and Iain. Hello, gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome along. Hello to everybody in the comments. Hello to everybody watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And when you subscribe, put the notification bells thing on so that you know when shows are coming. Stuart. Before I come to Stuart, we're sponsored by NordVPN. How could I forget we're sponsors? We are sponsored by NordVPN. They sponsor our football club, and now they sponsor the Rangers Rabble. So to get 63% off a 2-year deal, click the link in the description. By using that link, you help support the Rangers Rabble as well. And get your comments in, folks, because we need some content. We do need some content. Although I could sit and listen to Stuart talk all night. I really, really could. Stuart, this isn't, I was hearing today, might be a waterlogged pitch. The game might be off. I was a little bit worried about that because I would rather play the game than have the games in hand. I've just a personal preference. I've always felt like that. I'm not a massive fan, and I know that it's circumstances out with everybody's control, but I'm also not a massive fan of playing the game behind the other teams that are playing.
Look, there's not much we can do about it. I'm with you on the fact that you'd rather the game gets played. Yes, we've got a winter break and all that coming up, but there could be fixture congestion, weather, etc. later on. So if you want the game to get played, if the team have already travelled up there as well, you would rather get it done and dusted. I'm slightly more concerned, about the fact that they are arriving late and just a hassle that causes, that kind of normal routine that they would have had in terms of just chilling out before the game, then going through their warm-up, etc. That's all got to get changed now. I'm sure obviously that they'll be given additional time to allow that happen, but it's not an ideal scenario. And again, based on the fact, which is probably a game that we should win tonight, but a ground that I've never got that much confidence. I don't ever feel that we've put in great performances at Dens Park or whatever it's called. I think it's called something weird now. When I seen the message earlier that they posted out, so yeah, not ideal. But look, it's the manager and this team are being faced are getting put through the ringer a wee bit in terms of games in quick succession, injuries which appear to be coming out of ears at the moment, even though we thought some players weren't injured. They obviously now are injured, and Davies, etc. I'm sure you'll come onto the team, but it's one thing they'll need to get on with it. I'm more concerned as well, obviously, for folk travelling up there as well. At some point, the authorities will need to make a decision in terms of how late do they push this back, because you've got to think of the welfare of people travelling back home late if conditions are going to get worse. So it's not an ideal set of circumstances, but hopefully they can get to the ground fairly soon and get some sort of decent prep done for the game kicking off at a reasonable time.
Iain, was it Georgia, Scotland were playing, I believe? And there was a long delay before that game. The fact that we're still not at the stadium yet worries me. If we were there and it was just a delay simply to let supporters get in, fine. But we're not at the ground yet. So how long, like Stuart says there, how long can it be left? How long can it be delayed? And do you think there's still a chance that this might get called off?
if it's anything like the Scotland-Georgia game, that game eventually restarted when it was supposed to have finished. They could hold it that long. Because
do you not think it would be slightly different rules though, Iain, for international games?
Maybe slightly, because I think the next night they were talking about delaying it, playing it the next day, wouldn't they? So it's not something that would happen with our games. But you never know. I mean, if this game was on Sky, there'd be no hope of it getting called off. They would go ahead with it no matter what. But there has to be at some point. They have to take the safety of all those on the ground, not just the teams playing, but everyone to go home. So there is still a possibility this could be called off. Did we just come straight from Glasgow tonight then? Did we not go to Dundee the night before like we used to do? Is that just old school stuff?
I have no idea. I would imagine they would just go straight to Glasgow.
I think that's a fair point, Iain, actually, because I think normally they do. I was under the impression that they would normally have travelled up the night before, stayed in a hotel to be there, but that...
It's literally an hour and 20 minutes, though.
Yeah, but I think that, well, I suppose it depends on what... I think the manager might play an active part in deciding what he wants then his team to do. But I think they've done that in the past where they'll have travelled up the night before.
Yeah, no, absolutely they will. It's just, I mean, as a former bus driver and coach driver, it's an hour and 20 minutes. You know, don't.
But with the weather, if you're planning in advance, and you know the weather's not going to be great, then surely you take that into account and think, maybe we go the night before, so we're there. Preparations for us isn't obstructed. We can get into the ground. Well, somebody's from Rangers is there because someone's been putting film of the pitch there, so the media team must be there because that's on the Rangers YouTube channel. So
yeah, but they don't get on the bus. You know, they're not. They're not
so underneath the luggage.
Get on the bus. No. They've not even got the clearance to put the luggage on the bus.
No, well, there you go.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, there is the potential for this game to still be called off. We just have to wait and see what the Police Scotland and obviously Kevin Clancy, who is in charge of the side, is the best move forward.
Yeah, Kevin Clancy. Derek, my son says you are now talking nonsense, guys. It's a delayed kick-off, Derek. We have no option but to sit here and talk a wee bit of nonsense. But Connor, Stuart mentioned it again. Stuart's got this habit of, you ask him a question and he gives you the answer to your next 7 questions. So he kind of takes your questions away from you, right? But he also mentioned the preparation, the wee bit of training that we do before the game and stuff like that. Is that a worry for you that we're pretty much probably going to have 10 minutes, 15 minutes when we get there and they'll try and get kick-off done as quickly as possible?
It's a slight concern because clearly, obviously, Dundee will already be there. They'll probably be on the pitch as we speak, having their warm-up and to have to do it quickly, to get the players in and changed, straight away in the park for a warm-up. It's no ideal, and it will limit the time that the managers maybe got to speak to them as well and give them the instructions pre-game. Now, you'd imagine he might do that. There might be those conversations going on in the bus just now to try and save some time. I think what they should have done, even if it wasn't the night before, I think what they should have done is looked at the weather today and understood the potential issues they could face and left Glasgow earlier than they did. I mean, I don't know what time they left at, but if they're still not there, even taking into account conditions, it can't have been any earlier than 5:30 that they left it. For me, maybe it would have been a better shout for them to go, right, knowing the weather, let's, get out of Glasgow for, back of 4, something like that, and make sure we are there. That being said, being there doesn't mean it won't get called off. I mean, last season was it Dundee United travelled to Livingston twice to get the game called off before eventually, obviously, third time lucky it went ahead. So it does happen. But the preparation time is, you look at the injuries we've had as well. You don't want players going on and playing, 90 minutes of football underprepared to do it because they've done training during the week. But the training you do before a game is important, particularly for your muscle fitness and to kind of loosen yourself up to be ready to obviously play the game. So it's slightly concerning. But, I think even with that, if it does go ahead, then I still expect that shouldn't affect us getting a result tonight. I would hate for that to become the excuse should something go wrong and we drop points that, well, you know,
100%, 100%. That's the excuse I'm using. I'll be straight back on this reaction with we didn't get time to prepare. Absolutely.
Well, we can say that as fans, but would you want to hear Philippe Clement or, you know, Tav coming out and making that excuse? I wouldn't.
Clement gets away with it, but that's just because everybody's still in love with him now. Do you know what I absolutely love about the folk that watch this? It's no matter what situation we're in, no matter if it's a phone-in, if it's a normal podcast, if it's a build-up, if it's a reaction, there's always jokes, and I love jokes. I love dad jokes, right? So maybe it's a wee thing for as well people watching, get your best dad jokes in. But Stuart, here's one for channel member Gallant. Heard it was Dessers driving the bus, and he missed all the turn-offs. I love it. I don't know why. It's simple, but I love it.
Poor Dessers, poor Dessers, you know. Traffic's new. He's now getting blamed for that, and also, yeah, look, do you know, I think there's
the Rangers team have arrived. Sorry.
All right, well, if they've arrived, that's good. And if they've arrived, can we go on and talk about the team then?
I'll tell you what then, Mr. Professional, right? Balogun, Wright, Jack and Danilo are in for Davies, Raskin, Cantwell and Dessers. Loads to unpack in those 8 names. Stuart, so your thoughts on the starting lineup? In fact, will I read out the starting lineup?
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah, that would probably help, wouldn't it? Okay, so tonight's starting lineup is Jack Butland in goal, a back 4 of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Leon Balogun and Rid van Yilmaz, and then a midfield 3 of John Lundstrom, Ryan Jack and Lammers. Is that a 3? I don't know. And then a front 3 possibly of Seema, Wright, and of course, Stuart, the man in question, the man who everybody wanted to see on that team sheet, Danilo.
Yeah, look, I think the way you've read that out, I think is how I took it. I think it probably will still be a 4-3-3. I think Lammers will be part of that 3. Yeah, look, Danilo starting, I think it's what we've all wanted. I think we probably know he won't last the full 90 minutes, but I think there was a kind of growing sense that we would rather get 65, maybe 70 minutes out of him rather than seeing these cameos where he's absolutely made an impact, but we think we'd actually get more out of those 65, 70 minutes than what we would of Dessers giving us 65, 70 minutes. So, yeah, delighted to see that he's getting his start, and, you know, hopefully he can get that kind of vein of form that he's on, keep that going slightly. Obviously, I think the Davies one and Balogun coming in, that's a bit of a shock. I don't think we were expecting that, given that Ben Davies did the press conference yesterday. So obviously something's happened between then and now for him to not even be in the squad. Balogun coming in, he's been completely out of the picture recently. So again, you know, but he's got experience. He's played with Goldson before. So it's not as if it's completely new to him. We'll have experience at Dens Park as well. So I don't have too many worries about Balogun. I suppose the other one then is Cantwell. I'm assuming that's just to protect him in terms of, you know, he's just returning from injury. So it's probably about the load that we're putting on him and what he's capable of. And that's why he's dropped to the bench. Maybe I would have quite liked to see.
Did you see Cantwell there?
He's on the bench.
He's not on the bench.
Well, I seen a team sheet earlier that he was on the bench.
Cantwell's on the bench. Cantwell's on the bench, folks. Nobody panic. Martin read the team wrong. Sorry, Stuart.
No worries. Right, God, I thought I was missing something. But the other one, I Wright starting. He's made a bit of an impact when he's came on, but I'd have been quite happy to see wee McCausland get a game, to be honest. And I think quite a few people would have probably been in that camp, but. You know, there's not many options. The bench is starting to look a bit stronger. Sterling, etc., is back. But I don't actually mind the team. You know, it's what he's got at the moment. And we'll just need to kind of go with it. I think that team is more than capable of getting a result against Dundee, though.
Well, Iain, that's probably why he's made the changes that he has. A lot to unpack for what Stuart's just said there. I'll come back to Danilo in a wee second, but I completely understand why Cantwell's on the bench, right? I completely understand why the manager's done it. But Michael Beale left Cantwell on the bench the first game of the season at Kilmarnock. Things didn't really go too well for us. I get we're in a completely different scenario now. But is it just a case then, like Stuart says, look, he's just back for injury. We don't want to overbear him. And it's the right decision. I'm one of these guys, I just panic when I see a player of his quality on the bench and we're going to a stuffy away ground and the pitch is going to be heavy. And I just think I want as many of our best players on that pitch as possible.
But you've kind of answered your own question. The pitch is heavy. He's just coming back from injury, and they are going to. I mean, nothing like Hearts. Every time he gets on the ball, he's going to kick lumps out of him. I do think he kind of enjoys that part of it, but it's a heavy pitch. We don't want to risk him. We put him on a heavy pitch, and he gets injured. And he's out long term. Everyone will be going, "Well, why did you start him? He could have easily gone on the bench." It's only Dundee. So it's one of those, isn't it? You can't do wrong. You're only going to do wrong for doing right, or however the saying.
And also the cup, the semi-final of the cup as well. Like Gallons,
bigger game. Well, not a bigger game because every game's massive when you play for Rangers. But obviously, we want in that cup final. There's no excuse not to get there. So we need the bigger players for that game. And Clement is still working out his team. He's had a very short space of time with a lot of games, but a very short space of time to work out who he can use going forward. So he's got to use these guys. And at this point, we've got a big squad, big enough squad, and some depth at the moment. We've got a better depth than we actually have that we can see because obviously we've got a lot of injuries. But he's got to see who is going to be there to play for him. So can understand it.
No, sorry, Ian, you say we've got a lot of depth, right? Do we have a lot of depth in the middle of the park? Because we have Cifuentes and Dowell on the bench, who for me, I don't see getting any minutes on the pitch tonight. I really don't see it. They've been on the bench for the last 2 games and they haven't even seen 5 minutes each. And like I've just said, like you've just said, it's going to be a heavy pitch. We have Jack and Lundstrom in the middle of that park. We know all about Ryan Jack and about possible injury issues with Ryan Jack. So do we really have that much depth in the middle of the park? Especially if he's got to bring in Sam Lammers to play there.
We do have the depth in the middle of the park. Just unfortunately, the rest of the depth is currently sitting in the treatment table. So there is the depth there, but that only comes when they get fit. It's not a midfield I like to see, Jack and Lundstrom. It's one of those that kind of puts me off. But he's got to shuffle his pack a little bit. And with Cifuentes and Dowell just coming back from injury again, is he going to risk it too quick, too soon? And to be honest, Cifuentes hasn't pulled up any trees since he got here. We were all excited about him coming over, but he hasn't done anything to say that he's going to change the dynamic of this team at the moment. So only time will tell.
Right, we'll come back to the team in a wee second, right? As obviously it has been a bit of a delayed kick-off, we have time to take some questions about other aspects of the team, maybe not just on the night's game, but just in general. And Connor, one's come in from Paul that I'll bring up now. I did see people discussing this on social media, but my work's been crazy the last few days and I haven't really managed to get a lot of stuff watched, so I haven't actually seen it. But Paul's asking, what do you guys make of the players not using the recovery area at the training centre? Bonkers. I'm taking he means that kind of cryo chamber thing, I think. Is that as big a deal as what's been made out?
I think if we hadn't had so many injuries over a sustained period of time, it maybe wouldn't be necessarily as big a deal. But of course, a huge part of making sure players do stay injury-free, particularly when it comes to muscle injuries, because to be fair, you look at somebody like Danilo, it doesn't matter if how many recovery rooms he'd have been in, it wouldn't have prevented him getting a facial injury like that. But with the muscle ones, it is important that you use the recovery centres and the ice baths and stuff like that, because that just relaxes the muscle and takes some of that tension out of it that's going to be in there when you've just played 90 minutes of football.
Connor, sorry, the kick-off time has been confirmed. It's 8:30. 8:30 is the confirmed kick-off time. Sorry, Connor. I want to do one of those kind of news anchory things where you come in for the breaking news. Sorry, on you go. Carry on, Connor.
Nah, not at all, man. Listen, can't blame you for that. I got my moment to do that when we done the Scottish football show today. Billy Dodds got sacked, and I got to announce that. Breaking news, that sacking. It's always great. No, listen. I think clearly when you've got those facilities, the players should be using them, and they should be being encouraged to use them. I mean, I said before on the phone, and I think it was that stuff like that. That's the kind of things Clement's looking at, because you have to look at the reasons why are so many of our players going down with these injuries so often, because ultimately you can have the best players in the world in your team. They're no use to you if they're injured 90% of the time. It doesn't help you. And obviously, these are expensive things as well. So they should be using them, and hopefully we'll start to see that more to help aid in recovery and making sure that injuries aren't happening as often, particularly when you've got the turnover of games we've got as well. You're going midweek to the weekend, Thursday, Sunday. This week obviously we're playing in the league on the Wednesday. The players need that, and I must say, and I hate to bring him up because I think we're all bored of him, but it's a feeling on the likes of Michael Beale and even Gio that these players haven't been using the facilities, because clearly as managers they weren't telling them to do it.
Connor, can I just ask you on that? Because I've seen a lot of people kind of question Beale, but is it Beale or is it the medical department that would have the say on whether players need to use that facility or not?
Well, it's a bit of both, isn't it? I mean, obviously the medical department has primary responsibility because they are responsible for the fitness and the physical health of the players. But equally, as a manager, when so many of your players are going down injured, you should be asking those questions. You should be looking at that and having a chat with the medical team and going, right, what can we do here? What isn't being done right now? Are there things that you guys can help them with that they can do that we're maybe not implementing? And ask those questions and seek out reasons why it's not happening. And until now, it doesn't seem like our last couple of managers have really bothered to do that, and have kind of written these injuries off almost as, right, we'll factor that into our thinking. Doesn't matter, we'll just chop and change to whoever. Because the one thing we've not had for a long time, I don't think, is consistency of players being available and of having a starting 11. And that doesn't help, particularly when you look at the back line and even up front as well. We've chopped and changed that many times because of injuries. So obviously the medical team need a rocket up their backside, but that has to come for the manager, and if he's not been bothered to ask the questions, that's its own problem.
I just say that because Martin, I just said that because obviously where there was a big kind of deal about bringing back Dr. Waller, and he was very highly thought of and stuff. I'm just really surprised that you would imagine that all these players have individual recovery sessions that they need to do depending on maybe they've got niggles or just whatever. They won't all do the same thing. So I'm just really surprised that someone who's very respected in the game appears to have let that happen, as well as the managers. I think Connor's right. I think they do have a point to play in it. But I just found it really surprising that a lot of the focus went on to Beale, when actually I'm thinking, well, actually, what's their medical department doing here? Why are they not insisting that players use these facilities, given the fact that we are seeing a horrendous run of injuries as well?
Is it not also, Stuart, slightly on the players as well? Now, I don't know how big a deal. I'm not a sports scientist, right? And I don't watch a lot of the stuff that this is such a Rangers dathing, right? But all the young people are into now. But you watch. I think I watched that Man City documentary, and I think Vincent Kompany and all that were on the cryo chambers, and it was all about fitness and sports science, etc. But surely the players have got all their own personal trainers, and they've got access to everyone's got access to information now if you want it. If you're a professional footballer, surely the players must have been asking, right, well, what are we doing? We want to be at the optimum fitness that we can possibly be at. It can't just everything can't just be Michael Beale's fault.
No, and I 100% agree with you. That's why I've seen the reaction to Clement's comment, which was a pretty clear dig at what's been happening at the past. But I think a lot of people have taken that as a dig at Michael Beale. When I read it, I thought, well, yes, manager will obviously have a role in that, but surely you've got a medical department that should be informing the manager of what they believe is best for the squad and individual players. So, though, as I said before, they will all have their individual training sessions, recovery sessions, based on whatever their circumstances are, whether that's injuries or whatever else it is. So you would think that that would all be built in. And yes, players as well should have a responsibility to make sure that they're doing everything that they can to be at their best. So I'm surprised that, we've heard about how the club have invested in this training centre and it's the best of the best. There was a reason why England wanted to use it. It's the best facility in this country. And yeah, I think it is really disappointing to find out that actually the players who are there day in, day out aren't taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, that was my thoughts along it as well. I'll be honest, didn't stick out to me as a big, massive deal that we weren't using a cryo chamber, but then I don't know the benefits and the positives that you get for using that, etc., etc.
But I think Connor's right, Martin. Connor's right in what he said. It wouldn't be an issue if we weren't seeing a treatment room absolutely full to the gunnels.
Yeah, absolutely. David Murphy became a member on YouTube. Thank you very much, David. Thank you for the support. Greatly appreciated. If you want to become a member as well, then you can do so by using the link in the description, or I think if you're watching on a desktop, then the join button's just below the window. Iain, just quickly then before we get back to tonight's team, are we maybe guilty sometimes, I suppose, and he's not done many, but on the few occasions that the manager, Mr. Clement, has spoken, are we maybe just slightly guilty of maybe reading in too much to some of the things that he said about, the fitness, this and that, and are we too quick to jump on, he's having a go at Beale, he's having a go at the previous management, he's having a go at the way the club's been run, or are we right to have the kind of takeaways that we have?
But we've all been saying similar things for the past.
Yeah, but is that what he's actually saying, or are we reading too much into it?
Well, it could be that we're reading too much into it, but it sounds very much like what we've been saying for the past at least 18 months. These players don't look fit. They don't look like the players they were. Well, some of them two or 3 years ago, but no player is going to be the same as they were 2 or 3 years ago. We have that constant thing as well, like Tav and Goldson. Yes, they're not the players they were in that European run because that was 2 years ago. When you do lose a yard, you do lose something going forward. Something. Because when you go further back, when Gio took over from Stevie G when he left, those players could run and run and run and run and run every game. You two games back to back that went 120 minutes, and they looked the fitter team, and they looked the fitter team so much. And then for some reason the fitness levels dropped, and they haven't come back up again. So maybe what he's saying is that it's not so much he's complaining about the fitness of the players. He's now looking at it and going, I want my players to be fitter than what they actually are at the moment. Whether they're as fit as they were last season or the season before, I want them on another level. And maybe that's what he's saying, because he's a foreign manager. So what he's saying might just be getting misinterpreted by the media here and any small, particularly the Scottish mainstream media, not the fan media like the Heart and Hand guys and Four Lads and all that lot, but the Scottish mainstream media, one tiny little thing, if they can pick on it and run with it, it sells them column inches and papers, doesn't it? So I think the cryo chamber has been used before. I swear I've seen stuff on RTV showing our players in the cryo chamber. I think Roof took up permanent residence in there for 6 months at one point.
Oh, well, it clearly doesn't work then.
Nah, he didn't turn it on though. So maybe it's not being used as much as he would want it to be used for the smaller injuries, and that's what he's getting at, because I think he said himself that he used it as a player and it helped him recover from the smaller injuries quicker. And maybe we're not using it for the small ones. Maybe we're just concentrating on the larger injuries and trying to get them back quicker to get them on the pitch. Maybe that's what it is. But we all hang off his every word at the minute because he's new, and we want him to be successful and try not to and unsuccessfully fall in love with a man.
Well, I mean, I've already fell in love. So
yeah, I'm with you. I'm right there.
Stephen Cole has become a member on YouTube. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you for the support. Right, okay, Stuart, let's get back to talking about tonight, shall we? Because it will eventually kick off. I was contemplating delaying the build-up, by the way, but I thought, no. I've set it for 7:15. We will do it at 7:15. Right, let's start from the back and work our way forward then, Stuart, shall we? Leon Balogun back in the starting lineup, I think it was yourself that mentioned that, Ben Davies done the presser. Doesn't always mean that person starts, but it generally means that they're in the squad. And now I'm going to double check this because I got the Cantwell one wrong. I believe Ben Davies is not in the squad.
Correct.
I got one right. I had to get one right eventually, didn't I? I don't want this to sound ageist, right? But Balogun, obviously, he's had a few games for the B team. Hasn't really featured much. Has suffered a little bit with injury himself. Is Leon King unfortunate not to get the nod?
Possibly, but Leon King has featured less than Leon Balogun when it comes to the first team. So, look, the manager clearly has just went for what he feels is experience in that area, and he clearly feels that Balogun is the better option for him for this game. As I said before, I don't have a great deal of worry about Balogun coming in because it's like I say, he's got that experience. He's played with Goldson past. He knows what this venue's all about as well. So I'm not overly concerned by that. The same way I probably wouldn't have been overly concerned if Leon King had been given the opportunity tonight. The manager's made his choice, and he's clearly felt that going with a bit more experience is what he's after. Again, it is frustrating though. Again, that there's clearly another injury in there for Ben Davies, or maybe it's an illness or something. Because, like I say, it is strange that he's there doing the press conference the day before, and then he's not even in the squad. So something clearly has happened. But I think Dundee it'll be a similar game in terms of what we come up against quite a lot in the SPFL, in terms of, I think Dundee will use set pieces a lot. They've got decent long throws, etc. That's where they will try to hurt us tonight. So he's maybe just felt that Balogun, I think he is probably slightly taller than Leon King, maybe a bit more physical. He's maybe felt that's why he's went for it, because I think that's certainly an area that they will attempt to try and hurt us in.
I don't know, Connor, if it's just because I'm by nature a very cynical person, right? I'm very pessimistic. I'm very defeatist. I found that it's the easiest way for me to deal with life, right? It just is. It simply is. But I just don't want us, for even a split second, to just take our eye off the ball and just think that, we're going to Dundee. Of course, it should be a win, but we can afford to change one or two players. We can afford to give players who possibly need a rest or just coming back from injury just that wee break. And my only worry is that, first team minutes Balogun hasn't seen a hell of a lot. He is, getting on in age, and I've just got a slight worry that maybe we've just changed a wee bit too much.
Well, the trouble is, though, you'd have probably the same worry if it was Leon King that was in there as well.
I don't think I would.
Well, other than age factor, they're both, been out in the cold in terms of the first 11 for a long time. And either one that was going to come in tonight, you could pose questions about whether or not it would be the right choice. Obviously, again, we've run out of options. With it, you've got, Stuart and Davies both out, not in the squad. So you've then had to look at Balogun. And to be fair, and without sounding harsh on him, it is about time that we actually got him on the park and made him earn some of that paycheck that he'll be getting. Because since he came in under Michael, when Michael Beale signed him, it's been pointless. And it's, when he first came back in, I was happy enough that we brought him back, because I thought, well, after losing, big Phil Hollander and others, I thought, well, we lack a real big presence up there in that back line. So having him come back and seeing what he'd done the first time around, he was sensational at times. Not all the time, but he did have moments where he was outstanding. You look at the game, in fact, which might be a good example for tonight to alleviate the concerns. When he played at left back against Celtic, we all worried, would that be the right choice? Would we be in banging trouble having him there? And he bossed it, absolutely bossed it. He had Dave in his back pocket for that game. And tonight might be no different. Look, it's a challenge. I don't think he'll have as much defending to do because we really should be dominating most of the ball in that game. I wouldn't underestimate what Dundee can do, though. I mean, I've watched them plenty of times this season. Doing this,
haven't lost at home since February.
No, they have not. Having said that, we played Motherwell not that long ago, and they hadn't lost away from home since February, and we broke that duck. So, but they do have Bakayoko, who I think is possibly their biggest threat. He's the one that will cause the most problems for that back line, and I'm sure because Tony Docherty's not a stupid man. He'll look at Balogun and target him and think that's the guy who's going to maybe make the mistake because he's going to be rusty, or let's go and put balls in and see if he can deal with them. Personally, I think we'll be fine because there is no room for taking our eye off the ball here. There's no point in us calling a couple of points back at the weekend, in the last minute, and then end up, tonight throwing away points again. That's pointless. We have to just keep winning games of football for as long as we can.
My apologies. I thought I was on mute. God, some of the comments that get put in this, absolutely phenomenal. I'm just going to do. I've always wanted to do this, folks. Right. The latest scores in and around the Scottish Premiership. It's currently Celtic 0, St Mirren 0, Hearts 0, Livingston 0, and Alex Lowry started for Hearts tonight. Motherwell 0, Aberdeen 0, and St Johnstone 1, Kilmarnock 0. I don't know why. I've just always wanted to do that, and I don't want to alert anybody, but it's just flashed up on my phone. It's 1-0 to St Mirren.
It's 1-0.
St Mirren have took the lead at Parkhead. It is 1-0 to St Mirren.
I won't do anything because when I was on here and they were playing Motherwell, and Motherwell scored what I thought was a last-minute equaliser. We all know how that ended up.
Can I just say it's only 8 minutes in, folks. So although St Mirren are in very, very good form, it does have to be said. Iain, Connor talked there about Dundee possibly targeting Leon Balogun. Yes, quite possibly. But we do always seem to have this discussion around teams targeting Ridvan Yilmaz due to his size, etc., etc., etc. Borna Barisic is back on the bench after his latest injury. I want your thoughts on Ridvan. I'm more than happy actually with Ridvan's performances so far. I don't think there was a lot he could have done for the Shankland goal for Hearts. I think it was just an inch perfect ball. But I'm more than happy with Ridvan.
Yeah, I'm happy with Ridvan. For me, he's the first choice. Barisic is now the understudy. I think it was a sensible tactic from Hearts to fling in a high ball to Shankland, because I think even if Ridvan jumps, he's just getting up to the level of Shankland, and Shankland's going to beat him in the air. But other than that, I mean, teams have tried constantly to fling that ball into Ridvan, and 9 times out of 10 he deals with it. Mm-hmm. So I've got no qualms with him whatsoever. He offers... all right, well, the one thing you miss with Barisic is that crossing ability. Because, one thing that Borna does do very well is hit that ball into the box. But that will come with Ridvan. He's still a young player in many aspects in that sense. So he'll get it. But he offers more in the way that he runs towards the byline and all the rest of it. And he's got a trick or two as well, something that Borna doesn't really have. So now for me, Ridvan is ideal in that left-back position for me, and he is the number 1 pick for me. I don't believe that he's too small to be a defender, because if he was too small to be a defender, he wouldn't have even broken into any first team anywhere in the world, be it here, Turkey, wherever he had played his game. So he's obviously good enough. And I mean, part of me does want to just sort of pick him up by the collar and put him in my pocket, but I think we're going to see more of it. If he can get a nice, long, consistent run of games without the dreaded injury issues, then I think you might well see the very, very best of Yilmaz this season.
You just want to do that so you can walk about with £5 million in your pocket. That's
the only time it would ever bloody happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart, your thoughts then on the midfield. How's that midfield going to work then? Jack Lundstrom and we think Sam Lammers. I would imagine it would be kind of Lundstrom being the, I don't want to say dictator, but the controlling the midfield with Jack kind of sitting and Sam try to link up more. Is that how that will work?
I can't quite believe I'm on a podcast talking about Ryan Jack and John Lundstrom starting in the midfield again, but here we are. Yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see what he does there, because normally it is Lundstrom's the one that kind of drops deep to kind of make a kind of almost back three at times. I wonder if we'll see actually a slight change there, and it's maybe Jack that actually does that, and maybe allows Lundstrom to be more kind of moving forward. Absolutely, Lammers will need to be that kind of link between midfield and the forwards. Can he do that? Well, the early signs have been no. We've seen some nice wee touches from him, but Lammers, to me, he kind of amazes me. He seems to beat a player but not go anywhere. If that makes sense. Whether that's because he's got a lack of pace to get by them, but he tends to take the ball past players and yet doesn't go anywhere with it, and they're able to get back in at him. So, look, he is very much like Dessers, I think, in a really tricky situation, in that a sizable majority of the fan base have already made their mind up on him. And very similar to the way fans were with Michael Beale, it's a long, long way back from that, because you might be able to do some good things, but as soon as you have a bad game again, then those fans will be right on top of you. So he needs to turn that around very, very quickly and start showing us something. He's what I think this will be. I think it's his 21st game. This will be tonight. What is it? 1 goal and 1 assist we've had. It's not good enough for a player that is playing in an attacking role in a Rangers side. So massive game for him. I'm a wee bit nervous about that Jack Lundstrom, because we've seen it before and it doesn't really work. We've got to make sure that midfield doesn't just sit on top of our back four. It's got to push up. The centre halves have got to make sure that they're pushing them up, so that then you're either a Lundstrom or a Lammers is getting closer to our forwards. But it'll be interesting to see whether or not they just swap things around with Lundstrom and Jack, and whether Jack's the one that sits a bit deeper, which I think could be the case.
Well, there's a few people, Connor, in the comments saying that Lundstrom will be the sitter and Jack will go box to box, because that's what he done under Gerrard.
I don't know if he can do that, though. No, can he?
Well, yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say to you, Connor. Can Jack still do that? And also, answer this at the same time as well. As soon as the team was announced, I got a message off my mate saying, why is Lammers playing? Why is Lammers playing? A lot of people unhappy that Ross McCausland wasn't given a wee shout, but is Lammers playing, Connor, simply because, well, Ross McCausland's not a central midfielder, he's a wide player, but so is Lammers in this team purely out of necessity? Because I think the fans need to believe that is the case, not because the manager thinks he's good enough. Yeah,
I would say so. I think clearly it is simply that. We don't really have another option just now. We're still missing a number of players. We're still missing Matondo, for example. McCausland, obviously, I wouldn't have had a problem if I'd seen that starting lineup and he was in it. It wouldn't have worried me. However, I think you probably go with a more senior player at this moment in time, and that's what he's decided to go for. Because I'm not sure who else he could. Could you have maybe put Cifuentes in there and gave him a chance? I don't know. I mean, look, Lammers.
You want me to tell you who you could have put in there, Connor? I'll give you 2 names, right? As Connor's VP. Connor's VPN always freezes, right? But it always freezes in the most innocuous positions, doesn't it? That looks as if he's getting ready to come and take you away, doesn't it? So while Connor's, I'll better take a half screen, man. That's actually scaring me. And it's totally thrown me off my train of thought, man. That is one scary face.
You were going to give us a couple of names.
was going to give you two names, and I'll send you two names to you, Connor, now that you're back from scaring everybody. Aaron Lyle and Bailey Rice. Aaron Lyle and Bailey Rice for me. And listen, I know I'm an advocate for the B team, and I know that maybe not everybody will agree. And I can already see the cogs in Stuart's head turning as to why I'm wrong. Right, I can actually see it on his face. But for me, Aaron Lyle or Bailey Rice would give you more in the middle of the park than what Lammers will.
I mean, well, look, I think it's one of those ones. I mean, we had a chat the other day there when we done the phone in, and somebody had brought up the prospect of playing maybe one or two of the younger players in the squad. I just think it's a risk that you take with guys like Aaron Lyle and Bailey Rice who've not really had much first team action. I mean, McCausland's had more than them, so he would have been, I think, at least more worthy.
How's it not a risk, Connor, playing somebody who offers you little to nothing? How's that not a risk?
Well, to be fair to Sam Lammers, I agree he's not been good enough, but I certainly think he gives you a lot more endeavour than
what they do? He gives you endeavour. He doesn't give you anything else.
I just think at this moment in time,
it's like advocating for SIBO. I mean, I actually know you've got a point.
Well, I was going to say, we all wanted him to do well. No, look, I think he's going with what he knows for just now. Do I think Lammers is going to play the full 90 minutes? Probably not. But he may surprise us, and he may put in a shift right. I just think it's one of those situations. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because as I said the other night, if he played the youth players and then we lose or we drop points, then everybody's going to jump on his back for that and say, well, why did you play the youth players? Why were you playing Bailey Rice? Why were you playing, they weren't ready to start a game like that? And equally, if it goes wrong tonight, Lammers has a howler, that same question will come his way. Why did you make that selection? But he's hamstrung at the moment with the injuries in the squad and the players he's got out. Obviously, Campbell's on the bench, but I don't know if you could have sort of squeezed him into that type of role. And I'm not sure I'd want you to either, because I always think he plays better as a 10. So we'll have to maybe slightly give him a benefit of the doubt and say that against Dundee, because it is Dundee we're playing, so we should not have any problems, that he'll be able to cut the mustard. But he's going to need, help for, I think Seema and Danilo are going to be the two main players that you'll be looking at up front, because I must admit, having him and Scott Wright start, that is slightly, doesn't fill you with joy, to be fair.
Right, update from the Scottish Premiership. It's Celtic 1, St Mirren 1, Hearts 0, Livingston 0, Motherwell 0, Aberdeen 0, and St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 0.
Didn't he take them all, did it?
Iain, I think Connor has done that thing that I do all the time, where I kind of ask a question, answer it, and I ask another question. If it's a case of it's just Dundee and Lammers should be good enough in this team for us to beat Dundee, why isn't Bailey Rice good enough to be in this team to beat Dundee? Why isn't Aaron Lyle good enough to be in this team to beat Dundee? Why isn't Ross McCausland good enough to start instead of Scott Wright against Dundee?
I don't think I can give that the answer you want. Is I understand that these they are good players, and Bailey Rice, from what I'm picking up, I didn't see it, but from what I'm picking up from the comments, it was played an absolute blinder against Queen's Park last night in a game which the B team won 4-0. So if they're playing against, that's obviously the Queen's Park full team that they're playing. So if they're good enough to play against them, then why not give them the chance? But the one thing that I do know about Clement is the fact that he will, if he feels that they are ready to go, he will put youngsters in his team. He said it himself. He's had players playing for Bruges and Genk who were 17, 18 years old. He knows if they're good enough and ready to go, he'll put them in. So maybe he's assessing all these players, and when the time is right, he will stick them in. I kind of get your argument with Sam Lammers. He's not given us anything. He hasn't shown anything since pre-season, because pre-season, I believe, there was a comment. Anyone can go back and look at them. I think it was after the game in Germany against Hoffenheim that somebody in the comments put, he reminds me of Laudrup. I don't know what version of Laudrup they've been watching, because it certainly ain't anywhere near that level. But he's not offered anything since then. So there is an argument to say, why not bring in a Bailey Rice or a McCausland or somebody else from the B team if there's no one else to fill that gap. I get the feeling he'll be playing that 10 role, which would be Cantwell's position if he was playing. So we kind of have two of them out on loan at the minute as well. Those would have been the first two names that would have dropped in there. So it's a tough one. I mean, you've got to. I know it's a Goldfish Bowl playing in Glasgow, and if it goes wrong, it's why did you start the youngsters? And if you don't play them and we lose, well, you should have started the youngsters. They'll give us more. But I'm fully in for it. If they are good enough, they're old enough. So if they're chuck them in. They're never going to learn sitting at the bench watching. I would be of the thing. You know what? Here's a game. Go and show me what you can do. If you're good enough, we'll keep you on. If you're not, we'll take you off and we'll replace you with one of the senior players. It's fine.
Yeah. The front three then, Stuart. Is there possibly more scope to ask? Well, not to ask, but to discuss if Ross McCausland's unfortunate, maybe not to get a start on the right. Obviously, Sima's been fantastic. He has been. Danilo, we all wanted to come back in because when he's played, he's pretty much scored and he's looked a lot better than Dessers. But could we maybe just ask, maybe Ross McCausland be unlucky not to start?
Yeah, I think I said that earlier on. I think that was a position. I think the other two, Danilo and Sima, as you say, I think they're kind of nailed on. If he felt that Danilo was fit enough, so that I've got no issues with those two. I think Scott Wright, this is a guy who's had numerous opportunities. At times can look decent, has made an impact in the last two games. I will admit, I don't think his quality's been good enough. I thought away at Prague, I thought his use of the ball was really poor, but I think he actually caused them problems because they realised he has got a bit of pace. So I think him just being there actually gave them a bit of cause for concern, and he did make a bit of an impact when he came on at the weekend. But in saying that, so did McCausland, who was direct. He played with his head up. He played forward passes. He's not done anything wrong in those wee cameos that we've seen when we came on St Mirren as well and did well. So yeah, I'm a bit agree with what Connor said. If Ross McCausland had started tonight, I would have had no issues with that. It does feel as if the manager, because it is early days, and I think at the moment, my view is results are all that matter here, above performance at the moment. He's clearly feeling that going with maybe slightly more experience, particularly in a tricky away or an away fixture, let's not say tricky, but in an away fixture is maybe the way to go, and that's why he's done it. But, if Scott Wright doesn't deliver tonight, he's got an opportunity to do that. But if he doesn't, and McCausland comes on again and shows up well, then there will be pressure on the manager to stick to his word and stick to what he has said, and that age doesn't matter, and that's something that he's shown throughout his career, and he will give these boys a chance. So, it's an opportunity for Scott Wright to maybe actually nail down a bit of a position for himself tonight. Can he do that? I have my doubts because he's had opportunities in the past and not taken them. I hope he proves me wrong. But, I'm sure McCausland will get an opportunity at some point tonight to show what he's all about.
I know, Connor, you need to stop looking at that telly with your face tilted to the side. It looks like you're pouting, man. It's horrendous. It's terrible. This is what you... Looks like you're pouting, right? Stop it. What's the Newcastle score, Connor?
Oh, it's not. It's just about to kick off there. That's why I was looking at the television, because the team was coming up.
Right, before I come to a quick prediction, Connor, I'll just read out the bench really quickly. McCrory, obviously. Dessers, Cantwell, Cifuentes, Dibble, Sterling back on the bench. Barisic, King and McCausland. So, Connor, everything that we've discussed about, possibly giving a couple of youth players a try. Obviously, King and McCausland are on the bench, as is Sterling. And this is a question I always ask that I don't like asking, but if the game isn't going to plan, right, if we get to that 60, 65 minutes and maybe we're only 1-0 up or we need a goal, not going great, are you confident we have on the bench enough to come on and change the game?
Well,
Bearing in mind, Cifuentes coming back for injury, Dill coming back for injury, Cantwell still not fully fit, and Dessers.
Well, this is a question I get asked that I hate answering. I think, yeah, probably. I think McCausland has shown his ability to change a game, actually. When you think about it, I mean, you look at the Hearts game, for example, I felt he looked lively when he came on, and he's looked lively when he's come on in most of the games he's played in. And I think he might provide you something different. I know, I'm never a fan of defensive changes if you're in trouble in a game or you're chasing a game, because what's it going to change to bring on Dujon Sterling for?
Well, I'll change it, Connor, I'll change the question, right? If we need a goal with 20-25 minutes to go, what subs are you making?
Well, it's Cantwell, isn't it? You're bringing Cantwell on for Scott Wright or Sam Lammers, probably. And to be honest, you're probably chucking McCausland in as well, hoping that the two of them can bring a bit of pace and creativity to get you a goal. I assume, and I know I'll be lambasted for it, and I don't believe it myself, but given he's the only other attacking option, probably Dessers would have to come on at some point, because you can't have a striker on the bench and need a goal and then not use him, even if he is a striker as bad as Cyril Dessers is. So that's probably the three changes he makes if we're in desperate need of a goal, because they're probably the only three he can make realistically with that team if you're needing a goal.
Stuart, do you want to tell Connor why he'll make more than 3 changes?
Oh, no, I think he'll make more than 3 changes, but you asked me about the changes.
Oh, no. The way you said it there, the way you said it was he's going to make 3 changes when you can make 5 subs now. I thought you forgot, Connor. I was trying to take the piss. My apologies. Iain,
on your point though, Martin, just very quickly, this Rangers team though needs to get into a stage where we're not having to make these subs chasing a game, desperate to get a goal. We should be freaking winning the game comfortably and then making changes to either give rest players, give some guys some game time, etc., etc. That's what we need to start. We need to start making these games the way that they should be, which should be, comfortable victories in the run up to what is a massive game on Sunday. That's what has to happen. Now, we've not seen enough of that. I get that, but that's what we should be making subs for, rather than chasing a goal against Dundee.
Can I just say Real Betis are right up after 40 minutes in the cup? Just thought I would throw that out there. Just quickly, Iain, then final point to you, and then I'll come to the predictions. We will 100% see Dessers on the park. I'm letting everybody know that, and Iain, we will see him because the manager has said Danilo is not ready for 90 minutes. So regardless of how the game's going tonight, Cyril Dessers will play.
He will, and as bad as he's been, I'm hoping if he comes on, he just trips over a bootlace and it hits off his toe and fires into the top corner of the Dundee goal, obviously.
Is he a lost cause, Iain?
I don't think he's a lost cause. I think he said himself that the way it's been going for him is affected him. Worse players than him have turned it round and managed to get some goals for the club. Some players are held on higher regard than and haven't had it. I mean, Velička, there's people out there that absolutely love Velička when he played for us, and he was pretty poor. He just went on a little run of scoring like 3 goals in 3 games, and everybody loved him. So he's not a lost cause. He's a professional footballer. He's played for some decent clubs. He's got a decent scoring record at times. I can guarantee you he's a damn sight better striker than I am. So there's got to be something in there.
What's that got to do with his ability to play for Rangers? You don't have the ability to play for Norwich FC Sunday League team.
I play every Monday night. It's 5s, and I have to use a
but that's over 50s.
to get up the floor.
That's a completely different level. That's over 50s, Iain. Come on now. Come on, get real now.
Careful. Nah.
Right.
But I think he just, I don't know. At the moment, he's got a hell of a lot of work to do to turn it around. Can he do it? Will he do it? That's a different story. But there's got to be a player in there somewhere. because he's attracted attention from clubs before us. So
yeah, but I'm pretty sure Graham Souness signed a boy for Blackburn? I think it may.
Southampton.
Southampton. Yeah.
George Ware's cousin, and it turned out to be Frankie down the road's brother or something.
Yeah, so there you go. So maybe that's what's happened to us. Maybe we've just signed the wrong guy. Right, prediction time, guys. Prediction time, everybody in the comments. I will just quickly, for the final time tonight, read out the latest scores in the Scottish Premiership. Celtic 1, St Mirren 1, Hearts 0, Livingston 0, Motherwell 0, Aberdeen 1, and St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 0. That St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 0 was quite the surprise.
Just to let you know, Celtic have also missed a penalty.
Oh, did they get a penalty? Oh, well.
And they missed it.
Right, I haven't seen it.
Must have been cheating going on there. Must have been cheating.
I haven't seen it. Obviously, I haven't seen it.
Given by VAR as well.
Was it given by VAR? I haven't seen it, but clearly it's a conspiracy.
Right, obviously, what Iain hasn't told you is it's actually Neil Lennon that's sitting in the VAR room tonight at Celtic Park.
Do you know what's mental about that, right? See if somebody made that joke the other way about Chris Boyd sitting in the VAR room, they would believe it. But yeah, there you go. Stuart, prediction for tonight, please.
2-0 the Teddy Bears.
First goal scorer?
Sima.
That's a good shout. We never even spoke. We've been on this for over an hour and we never even spoke about Sima. That is shocking, by the way. Iain?
I was going to go 2-0 as well, but I won't because that's boring. So I'm going to go one more than that and go 3-0. And I'm going to take the masked man himself, Danilo, to score.
I was more asking you about Sima, but we'll gloss over that.
I missed that. Sima, great player.
Yeah, Seaman's fantastic, and I'm sure he'll put in another shift because he's probably.
I was more asking you about
best signing. No, I'm just saying he's probably been arguably the best signing that we did bring in the summer. When
he's on loan, yeah.
Yeah, well, typical. But prediction, I'll go 4-0 Rangers, and I will say. Do you know what? I'll say Scott Wright to get the first goal. Why not?
I would just say. Yeah, you were absolutely right. Celtic did get a penalty and David Turnbull missed the penalty. David Turnbull also scored their goal, but he missed the penalty as well. I'm going to go 1-0 Rangers, Cyril Dessers in the 102nd minute.
Oh, don't do that to me, Martin.
And it's going to be a penalty, right, that we're going to get in the 102nd minute, and Cyril Dessers is going to take it, and he's going to hit the post, come back, smack him in the face, and go in. That's how we're going to win the night, folks.
Did you not have enough stress on Sunday? No, that wasn't stress.
No, there's just a part of me that really wants that to happen and for it not to actually be a penalty, but we get it anyway. I don't know why. There's just a part of me that wants that to happen. Listen, Stuart, Connor, Iain, thank you very much for helping me get this to over an hour. Superb, by the way. Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you for getting all your predictions in the comments as well. I've seen them. I'm stopping bringing the predictions up for this, just to see how the result goes and the performance goes. I'm trying loads of different things, just to make my life slightly easier, because Rangers don't make your life easy. But I've kept an eye on them, and we'll. In fact, do you know what I'll do? See if anybody gets the prediction right. I'll see who gets it right, and we'll maybe invite you on the show. There we go. If you get a prediction right, that's a good shout. 10 minutes to go now until kickoff, hopefully. And we shall see you back. Make sure you've got your notifications switched on, by the way, on YouTube, so you know exactly when the reaction is going to be, because it's normally about 5 or 10 minutes after the show, and obviously that depends on injury time, etc. So make sure you get notifications switched on. Check out our sponsors, NordVPN, link in the description for 63% off of a 2-year deal with Nord. So thank you, Stuart, thank you, Connor, thank you, Iain, thank you everybody for watching. Go and enjoy the game, and we'll speak to you not long after it.